What's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to Insane Disappearances. I am your host, Lamech, and I got two short stories about national park disappearances, dealing with a newly married couple and a young 5-year-old boy. But first, as always, I want to start out by talking about a ghostly experience that I had in the past, present, and future. This story is actually about an experience I had um, during the time when I was living in my apartment, which was over about maybe 3 years ago. I was actually living in a two-bedroom at the time. I had this thing about me when I slept. I always slept with my arms up like this, or my armpits were, you know, up shoulder or whatever. I used to sometimes sleep with my arm like this, and every once in a while, when I'm asleep, I would get the feeling of a finger being pressed into my armpit. I mean, really, really hard, and that would literally wake me up out of my sleep. And then when I realized there's nobody there, I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, so it was very weird. Um, and then there was times where I would get a ticklish feeling under my armpit, but most of the time, like every other night when I be sleeping like this, I'd be thinking that it's not gonna happen again. But every time I think that, and I'm asleep with my arm like this and my armpit, out in the open, I would feel that finger pressed hard into my armpit, and once again, it would wake me up every single time. And then I'd look and realize there's nobody there because it was always just me in my apartment. It may have been a two-bedroom, but it was always just me. I didn't have a roommate at the time, so it was a very crazy moment for me at that point because I never could seem to figure out what it was or who it was, and they would just keep doing that, just for the hell of it. I never did try to find out who it was that was doing it, and I've learned never to do stuff like that because you would probably open up a can of worms you don't want to open up at that point. You never know who it is that's actually haunting your apartment or whatever the case may be. And it was nothing too crazy because it wasn't one of those things where things would start moving around or getting thrown at you or things would be misplaced. I've had moments where I go through a period of apport, which is it's a technical term for how ghosts would remove something that belongs to you and place it somewhere else in a place where you'd never be able to find it. Now, see me, I lost a set of car keys once, and I think it didn't have my house keys on it. I think I had a spare. I had two sets of car keys and two sets of house keys. So I had both in my pocket, and I laid it down, and I haven't found it to this day since I've been in my house. It's probably somewhere in this house, but I since then got a brand new car anyway, and that was the keys to my truck. So lucky for me, I had a spare, where I could actually get in my car. That would have been a mess if it was just that one key and I couldn't, I didn't have a spare, And like I said, I never found it to this day. And even with my new car, I lost that set of keys. I think I left them at Quick Trip and I never found them, So I don't know. Maybe it was a period of apport for me too. And at that point when I got my new car, I don't know, but I just know I never found it. So I'm not really too worried about it because, I still have a set of keys that I can get in my car with, and I got my house keys too. So anyway, on to the story. Like I said, I got two stories for you. One is about a married couple, a newly married couple that was on their honeymoon, and one is about a young 5-year-old boy. To start off with, this is a story about Glen Hyde and his wife Bessie. Now they were honeymooning in northern Arizona at the Grand Canyon. Okay. Now that was around the time when they vanished on the actual honeymoon, which is pretty crazy enough as it is. You go on a honeymoon to the Grand Canyon, you vanish without a trace, right? Weird. But anyway, they were traveling down the Colorado River, and they were traveling in a scow in October of 1928. Yeah, it was a long time ago, very long time ago. Now they had planned to boat through the Grand Canyon. Bessie would have been the very first woman to actually do so successfully. Now her husband Glenn, he has traversed through tough rivers before. But Bessie was a boating newbie, right? Okay, now the couple ran across other boaters who looked at her and realized that she looked like she wanted to turn back, but her husband was actually pushing her on to kind of get over whatever fear she was experiencing, so she could actually do this, and be the first woman to actually do it. He was trying to build her up a little bit, trying to give her some courage, so at that point they kept going, right? Okay, so now if they had completed that trip successfully, they would have been able to go on a paid lecture tour. So as you can see, this trip was more than just fun. There was money at stake here. Now after that, the trip that they took, it happened, and at that point, when they was trying to get that little free tour, that's around the time that's when they disappeared. So let's fast forward a couple months later. Now, the Hydes boat was actually found. It was upright and it had supplies in it, and it was undisturbed also. So that alone was the first clue of something being wrong. Now, when they found the boat, they didn't find the couple, and that right there was also weird because it looked like they must have docked, at the shore of the Colorado River, got out and probably wanted to rest, or probably saw some things that they wanted to explore. And in the midst of all that, that's when they just vanished. Now, there was a lot of theories of what happened to the couple. Did they disembark and go on a too difficult side hike? Did they get into an argument that turned deadly? Or were they abducted? Now, there are also some other conflicting information about Bessie Hyde. She's been actually, she was reportedly seen more than once, in the area. But, and that actually has been going on for like maybe years after the fact, that she's been spotted, but it's never really been confirmed. And see, that's where I come in as far as my theories. First of all, this woman has been spotted more than once throughout the years. But so that means she's been spotted, but her husband wasn't. So that means that she obviously killed her husband and decided to slip into society and live her life under an assumed name, maybe. Because I would think that if they saw her, you would think the authority. But see, that's the thing. When people see her, by the time the authorities get involved, she's nowhere to be found. And like I said, most of the time when stuff like that happens, when they say they saw someone that looked like her, normally 9 times out of 10, it's not really her. Or by the time the police get involved, the information is incredible. So now, as far as what happened to them during the time when they disappeared or before they disappeared, if they wanted to go on a side hike, there's a possibility. If they went on a side hike, something might have happened and they might have been killed, maybe by a mountain lion, or maybe they were hiking on a trail, and if all their supplies was in the boat, I'm talking about water, food, all that stuff, obviously they probably said, okay, we're just going to take a little hike around this way, we're going to come back and keep going down the river. Or maybe something killed them. Maybe it was a mountain lion, I don't know. But if that was the case, they would have found the remains of the married couple, right? The honeymooners. But they didn't. The question about it is what happened to them. And the answer is they disappeared. They vanished without a trace. How they vanished without a trace, I don't know. And as far as them getting in an argument, which turned deadly, think about it. If they're both missing, obviously it was more than just an argument that turned deadly. Now, the fact that she's been spotted, over the years after they both disappeared, but it hasn't been confirmed. Like I said, maybe she killed her husband because she probably got tired of him trying to drag her out to, this boat thing, and then she decided, fuck this, I'm gonna kill him, get it over with. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like a good enough argument to have in order to kill someone. I would think that's my opinion. So when all that stuff is eliminated, argument, the killing, all that stuff, and the fact that she's been spotted, but it hasn't been confirmed. Everybody has a lot of doubles out there. I have a double out there. I've seen a lot of people I've talked to a lot of people that said they saw someone that looked just like me at the same job that I work at. I remember one time my cousin was telling me that there was a guy that looked just like me that was walking down the street and had on the same kind of jacket that I had. But like I said, everybody has a double somewhere. So, but in a case like that, I really don't think that it's something dealing with an abduction or a murder. I'm thinking that something really weird happened to them, because for their supplies to be left behind, and whoever it was that abducted them, why would they just leave the boat there along with the supplies? I would think that they would probably try to jack them for their supplies and use it if they're living, off the grid, right? I would think so. But like I said, to this day, their case has never been solved. This happened way back in 1928. Okay, this was back in the days when forensics and DNA science wasn't even thought of at that point. So you could probably get away with murder and never be found. Look at what happened with I was just thinking about this. The Ripper case, Jack the Ripper. Same thing with Jack the Ripper. This man killed prostitutes on a nightly basis and has never been found. He always did his, killings in the dark, in dark alleys in old English times. Okay? And it wasn't until hundreds of years later when they found out that Jack the Ripper was actually a doctor, because the man used a scalpel to kill the prostitutes. He hated prostitutes just that much in order for him to kill them. And it wasn't until hundreds of years later when he realized that he was an actual doctor. And of course, he's been dead for hundreds of years, so that may have closed the case of who he really was. But the fact is, he did all that and was never caught. And this was back in those days when DNA science and forensics, none of that stuff was even thought of. We didn't have the technology for that. So you could get away with murder. Let's just say if I went back in time and killed someone, they'd never know it was me, because I would do it in a way that they would never figure it out, because it would be at night. I kill a person and get away. Boom. I live out my life as a regular person. They wouldn't even know the difference. They would never even know it was me. And that's exactly what was going on with this, Jack the Ripper. They didn't even know his name until they figured out who it was. And they used cutting edge science in order to figure that out. So, like I said, in that era, of course there's gonna be mystery, but still, there is mystery that doesn't have anything to do with human abduction. So I'm just trying to let you know right now. But anyway, that's it for that story. The next story is gonna be about Alfred Beilhartz. He disappeared in 1938. And see that right there, that's the crazy part. Bessie and her husband disappeared in 1928. Fast forward years and years later, and this little boy disappeared in 1938. Okay, so 28, 38. Weird. Around the same amount of time. It was like years later, right at the same point. But anyway, now the story about Alfred Beilhartz. He was 5 years old, and his death is the very first recorded drowning in the Colorado Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, though Beilhartz actually drowned, that's controversial because nobody really knows. It's just something that they came up with just because of the fact that they couldn't figure out what happened to him. They never found him. So even if you drown, you'd still be able to be found, I would imagine, if you was in a river somewhere. Maybe, I don't know. Okay. Now, he was camping in the park with his father. His entire family, basically, over the July 4th weekend. And on the July 4th weekend when he disappeared. which was near the Roaring and Fall Rivers. Now, Beilhartz had gone with his dad to bathe in the river, and from there he decided to go with. He decided to join some two family friends, to a spot about 500 feet of upstream from where his father entered the river. Now, when everyone returned to the campsite, that's when they realized that Alfred was gone. He was missing. A search began immediately, expanding to more than 100 civilian conservation corps members within 45 minutes, but there was barely any sign of Michael Beilhartz anywhere. Okay, now let's fast forward about a couple months later. Now, after he disappeared, after he disappeared, a couple that was hiking about 6 miles away from the Beilhartz campsite saw a boy looking like him in an area that they called the Devil's Nest. And David Paulides talks about that a lot. When it came to names like that, people always seem to disappear in areas that have the name Devil in it, like Devil's Nest, Devil's Backbone, or the Devil's Bowl, all kinds of weird names, and it all has the name Devil in it. And I looked up. I remember I said this before in one of my other videos, that I looked up one of those places, and I sent the information to David Paulides, because I remember he said in the interview on Coast to Coast AM that he would love to find out why they call it that and where that name came from. One of them was about some guy who was in an area like that, and he devoted his entire self to whatever it was that was out there. Nobody really knows what happened to him. They just know that's what he did. I'm not completely sure about what happened to him, because it was very sketchy as far as the information. But that's what they said. I guess he, I don't know, gave his soul, his life to whatever that thing was that was out there. I don't know. Okay. Now, by the time the authorities showed up, whoever that little boy was that they saw that looked like Alfred Beilhartz, he was gone. Okay. Now, the search went on for 10 days. And it included 150 men plus bloodhounds. Now, the size of the search party ended up dwindling down to a dozen by the 8th day. Now, at that point, the National Park Rangers chalked his disappearance up to a drowning. Now, that alone is very weird, because between the time when he was bathing in that river and he went to that area where those family friends were, I believe it said that he got there to where they were and he spent time with them. But somewhere along the line, as he was spending time with them family friends, he disappeared, because somehow they must have lost sight of him, and they all went back to the campsite, and that's when they realized that he was gone. Obviously, even though he was 5 years old, his father let him go spend time with these family friends, and the area, like I said, where he was a spot that was 500 feet upstream from where his father entered the river. Okay, so he had to travel 500 feet from where his father was to get to this place. Okay, so he was walking. So he obviously spent time with them, because when they came back to the campsite, that's when they realized he was gone. So he must have disappeared. He probably wanted to take a piss in the woods somewhere, or in behind a bush maybe. And he said, "We'll meet you back at the campsite, okay? Do you know where it is?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know where it is." So he walked somehow between point A and point B. He disappeared. So it's anybody's guess as to what actually happened to that young boy. And in those types of cases, we're talking about children disappear. I mean, completely disappear. You can turn your head for a second and boom, you look back and the kid is gone. It's like they wait for that opportunity to take these children. Okay, and it's like they always want to take a child that is that's like away from a group. They don't ever want to, or anybody. They don't want to take anybody that's near a group. Here's my thing. If you're gonna take somebody that's in a group but they're away from that group, why don't you just take that entire group? I would think that you have the power or the ability to do that, right? If you're gonna take a person that's away from the group, but I guess they figure it's more mysterious to take that one person away from the group. It's just like there was one story about a young man who was walking down a dark street with some friends, and there was a group of people. Let's say you're walking with a group of people, right? You got about a couple people in front of you, and a guy that's walking next to you. Everybody got their eyes focused on what's in front of them. They're not looking at anything that's around them. They're not turning their head. They're not going like this to see that guy next to you. They're just looking straight ahead. So it's almost like they're under some type of control where they make sure that they are facing forward and walking without paying attention to the guy that's next to them. So at that point, they take them, okay? And the weird part is there's never any sound at the moment when that person is being taken. Just like what's that guy's name? The one I told you about that lives in Georgia, not the Kendrick Johnson, but it was another boy, the one that disappeared in 2002. Who was a DOT worker, a surveyor. I think his name was Johnson too. But anyway, with him, same scenario. He's walking back to a truck with his co-workers, and they get ahead of him, and somehow he falls behind. And within a second, he's taken. And there's never any sound of him struggling or him screaming behind someone's hand. Like, woo! They don't even hear the chains hit the ground. But when they look back and realize he's gone and they see his boot dangling from a doggone barbed wire fence, it makes you wonder, how could a person like that disappear and no one knows how? No one heard anything. How could you not hear something like that? How can you not hear someone placing a work boot on a barbed wire fence? How could you not hear the sound of chains hitting the ground? It's not like they were all laughing and joking around and screaming so loud that they didn't hear him being taken. Now, if he's been taken by something or somebody, they're going to still hear it. And the way the chains fell out of his pocket, I would think he had to have been upside down, right? Or he was pulled away in such a way that he was obviously pulled up and away. So he was grabbed by the leg, pulled up very fast and very hard at a very high speed, and somehow he got flung right out of his boot, or out of his boots. But it's the fact that the boot was dangling on the fence, and then they found the other boot 900 yards away on the property that they were surveying, which is near a swampy area. They found the other boot near that swamp. Okay, so it was literally placed there by something. But yet, it was also placed on a barbed wire fence just to make things even more confusing. Because think about it. What criminal, what killer, what serial killer do you know would take the time to do something like that? Remove the shoes, literally personally place it on a barbed wire fence to where it's dangling. Then you take the other boot and sit it down near a swampy area. All this done within a matter of seconds. Okay, so somehow, I'm telling you, that man was taken by way of some sort of portal. And just like the vacuum in space, I'm thinking that's how he had to have been taken that way. When this portal opened up, there was no air or gravity at that point. So, and I said this before about how people seem to be taken in a way where there's no sound at the time when they're being taken. Okay, just like if you're in space, above the atmosphere, there's no sound, there's no air, and there's no gravity. Without these three components, you cannot hear sound, I would imagine. Okay, so because when that guy that I told you about that dove into the atmosphere from the upper atmosphere or above the atmosphere, he didn't start hearing anything like the sound of rushing wind until he entered a certain part of the atmosphere. And this was entering gravity and air all at the same time. All that stuff mixed together creates that point where you can start hearing things. like sound and air rushing. And I think that's what happens. When these portals open up, they somehow suck sound and air right out of that one little pocket that you're standing in. And you get sucked right into it, and then the door closes. Is he alive? I don't know. Is he dead? Don't know that either. But I just know that he was pulled away in such a manner that he was flung right out of his shoes. Now, like I said, all this stuff had to happen within a matter of seconds. The boot was placed on the barbed wire from the barbed wire fence, and the other boot was placed 900 yards away from where he was last seen in a swampy area on the property that he was surveying. Okay, so weird stuff, people. It's like I said, when people start saying that there is a serial killer out there doing these things, if you look at the history of serial killers, there is no such thing as a serial killer of all serial killers. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that Jack the Ripper was one of the ones that was able to do that and never get caught, which he was. He has never been caught up until he was actually dead. They didn't find nothing out about him until after the fact that he was dead. Hundreds of years later. I'd say about 300-400 years, maybe a couple of decades, I'm not sure. But it was the fact that he was never caught during that era of his life. And for someone to do what they're doing now, kill people and take them, and not leaving any evidence behind except for a couple of bone fragments, a tooth, and a cranium. I'm just saying, what could it be, people? And I say that loosely. What could it be? Not who could it be. And if it is a who, it is not a who here that lives on this planet. It may live on a planet, but it's not this one. He may be coming from a parallel universe, a parallel Earth that is perpendicular to this one. Somewhat similar. Because I think, my theory about that in like parallel Earths, the things that happen on this Earth happen because of the things that we do. And I think somehow two different Earths operate on the same multi-dimensional space-time continuum where things are happening at the same time. Like right now, it is where I'm at is 11:43, and on that parallel Earth is 11:43 p.m. Okay, and we may be doing the same exact thing at the same exact time as the Earth rotates on its axis. Okay, so let's just say what we do happens on that Earth too, right? But if we make a decision not to do a certain thing, the thing that we don't do ends up being what they do on that Earth. So just like, okay, let's just say you're traveling down the street, and it's normal every day. You stop at a stoplight. What do you see? The stoplight, which is red, yellow, and green. Okay, now we stop at a red light here, but let's just say on that Earth, people stop at a green light, and they actually go on a red light. Everything is topsy-turvy and reversed. Okay, on that Earth, on this Earth, Elvis has been dead for years. On that Earth, he's still alive and performing in Las Vegas. On this Earth, let's say President Kennedy is married to his wife, the First Lady. But on that Earth, he's actually married to Marilyn Monroe. He never even met Jackie Kennedy, or Jackie Onassis, or whatever. I think that was her maiden name, Jackie Onassis. But on this Earth, he met Marilyn Monroe and married her, and she became the First Lady. Okay, so a lot of things that may happen here, and let's just say, like I said, things that don't happen here probably happen on that planet. Things are just reversed, and just turned upside down. I can't even imagine. I'm so used to stopping at a red light, at a stoplight, but on that Earth, let's just say I do the same thing. I got people behind me, and they honking at me because I'm stopping at a red light instead of a green light. Okay, I'm supposed to be going at a red light, but I don't know this. Perfect example, Sliders. I loved that show. I watched every single episode from the very first one to the very last one, which I was pretty pissed off about because the way they left you guessing at what could have happened to Rembrandt Brown when he went through that portal, knowing he had the one thing that could save his world, some type of virus that is injected into the skin of a human, and somehow they're able to die from it. I don't know. It's the only thing that can kill Cro-Mags. But if you were a Sliders watcher, you know what I'm talking about. How when he first went through that tunnel and ended up on that Earth where everything was all reversed, and he still had the same exact DJ on the radio that he listened to. A guy named I think his name was Trooper. You know, and he's talking about all this stuff like global cooling and the fact that President Kennedy was actually married to Marilyn Monroe instead of Jackie Onassis. I'm just saying, things like that probably do happen on these other Earths. And the fact that we have these like folkloric creatures that we talk about here on this planet, like Bigfoot, werewolves, imps, you got Pan, you got the Dogman, Chupacabra. All these different creatures live on a different level than we do on this planet. They live on a different plane, so they're able to slip through these pockets and come to this plane to ravage and do whatever. I think even werewolves, because I showed you that photo before of a CCTV camera that caught a picture of an upright walking dog in the street. Okay, now who's to say that's not real? Who's to say that it isn't? I understand that you need proof, and there's all this stuff about all this talk about CGI and all that stuff. But when you are so dead set on thinking that it could be fake, and I'm not saying that that's not true. There are a lot of things that be on the internet that's faked, but there's a lot of things on the internet that isn't faked. Okay, there's also a level of faith and just believing in what you see. Okay, I believe that there's a such thing as Bigfoot. I may not have seen one with my very own eyes, but I know there is a such thing, and I know there's a such thing as all these other creatures because they live on different levels. Okay. Different plane levels, or they probably come from another parallel Earth where all of these creatures do actually exist. On that Earth, fantasy is actually a reality. Everything that we look at as sci-fi, fantasy, whatever, it's all a reality on that Earth. And these creatures or whatever come to this Earth. There was one story about a woman who was at a hospital that said she had cancer. I think it was stage 4. The doctors basically said that there was nothing they could do for her. They told her to just go home and get your affairs in order, spend time with your family, because I think they said she only had like 3 to 6 months to live. This person came out of nowhere. He was in a doctor's, that little doctor's coat with the blue, the aqua blue, or that little like bluish green like cover suit that they wear, in operations and stuff like that. He had bright blonde hair and bright blue eyes, and he walks up to this woman and it said that he wanted to check her out for just to run some tests, real quick before she leave. And he had this thing that looked like a pen, like a ballpoint pen, and it had these little red, blue, and green lights on it. And he pointed it towards her, and she saw it flashing. He said, "Okay, that's all right. You can go." And then when she comes back for another checkup, they said that they couldn't find the cancer anywhere in her body. And she even asked about this man with the blonde hair and light blue eyes. I think she even mentioned his name too. And they said, "We have nobody here that fits that description that works here." So this guy could have been some doctor from the future. Okay. He obviously knew about this woman, and he probably resides here on this Earth or in this time, but he was able to slip in and slip out to help someone. We're talking about space age science, medical science. A ballpoint device that looks like a ballpoint pen where you can point it at somebody, it flashes, and it takes away the cancer in your body. That would be something. I can guarantee you that. But it's all, to other people, it's just a mystery, it's a story, it's a legend, it's folklore, it's a fabricated truth or story. If there's no proof, people look at it as something that they can't believe. But me personally, if I hear about it, I'm going to believe it. I'm sorry to say, but I would believe it, because I believe that there is something more than what we already know as humans that is going on this planet. The proof is in David Paulides' books. The proof is in the other stories that we hear about on the internet. You know, about creatures that people have seen and wrote about through time, but never had an actual photo of it. They just had drawings of what they may have seen that they put in books. Okay, there's a painting that I saw that was painted by, I think, Michelangelo, I believe. And it was a painting of the Mona. Well, whoever did the Mona Lisa, I think it was Michelangelo. Don't quote me on that because I should know, but I don't. You know, like, I don't. Anyway, there is. I think they said the original painting. There's like a ship of some sort in the top left hand corner. It looks like it could have been. I don't know what it was, but there was a painting that showed a UFO in it. And I bet you I can find that. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can punch that up real quick to see if they do have a painting about that on there. I'll just say paintings, old paintings with UFOs in them, I guess. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, here's one right here. Here's one right here. See that? Now, why would someone in that era paint something like this? Unless there was something to it. You see that? This is what whoever painted this saw. And you can see in the background somebody looking up at it. You can see that person right there. He's got his arm up, with his hand in front of his face, trying to get a clear view of it. And you can see right here what the person actually saw. And, because back in those days, they drew what they saw. Now, by being that high up, that's probably the only that was probably all they could get from it. But and even in this one right here, you see that saucer right there, little black thing looks like a top hat, or like one of those what do you call those, fedoras? Fedoras, like those hats that they wore back in the Charlie Chaplin days with it rounded at the top. But yeah, that's the UFO right there. Yeah, I don't know what year this is, probably like the 16th century maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's pretty much. Let's see. I think. Oh, this is a painting of Moses seeing UFOs like a armada. Look at that. See that? That looks like the Ten Commandments right there, and Moses holding it. And then you see those four or five black dots in the sky right there. Okay. Now, I know my channel don't usually talk about UFOs, but I do talk about mystery. Oh, here's another one. This one looks like the crucifixion of Jesus, but yet you see right there. See that? That little UFO thing? Let me blow it up a little bit. Yeah, you see that? Now, during the crucifixion of Jesus, somehow they must have seen this flying in the sky. This is a depiction of what they saw, and they put it in the painting. So that lets you know that UFOs have been coming here for thousands of years. So for a person to say they don't believe this stuff just because they just don't, it don't mean that it ain't true. Because, like I told you, the unknown, the mysterious, and the outright creepy is what this channel is all about. I want to start talking about other stories that are creepy and unexplainable, other than just people who disappear. I like to kind of switch it up a little bit and talk about things that don't make any sense and things that you can't figure out. Like, people, they tend to talk about UFOs and saying they've seen them, and they talk about all kinds of stuff that they can't explain. But yet, You got other people that want to say, oh, it was because of this, or it's because of that. That's what you saw. Or you were probably daydreaming, or you were probably seeing things, or you was dreaming. When skeptics say stuff like that, that's only because they never experienced it. And even if they did experience it, they shrugged it off, or they chalked it up to them hallucinating or something like that. Because I've had people say that to me too. When I told them that I saw a UFO last night, hovering, like flying, underneath the moon. And they said, oh, you was drinking something. I don't drink. Well, you were smoking something. I don't smoke either. I don't even smoke cigarettes. So, and then she couldn't say nothing after that, but I know what I saw. It was like, I think I was at my mom's house, and I happened to be looking up and see a little white dot that was sitting underneath the moon. It curved up, and it went at a 2 o'clock angle and disappeared out of the atmosphere. And seconds later, I see a streak of light shooting off into space. So, I'm just saying. But yeah, that is some very crazy stuff, people. We are talking about mysterious happenings as well as mysterious disappearances and the theories that follow behind them. I don't want to talk about theories of people abducting someone and leaving behind strange evidence, because that doesn't sound right. You want to know why? Because I've never heard of any criminal, any serial killer that did stuff like that. What serial killer, I talked about this last night, what serial killer do you know would take the time, knowing that he's trying to kill someone and get away before he got caught, especially if the person screamed, bloody hell, if they're being murdered. What kind of person would take the time to remove someone's boots, but yet leave no other kind of evidence behind, like hair fragments or portions of your clothing, or like other fabric, anything. I'm talking DNA, fingerprints on the body, whatever. These people are being killed without being touched, and that's the biggest mystery right here. How can that even happen? When you ignore those facts and think that someone is just being, less than truthful, I would never think like that, because trust me, there is definitely something going on here that we can't explain. Okay, people are going into these national parks and they're not coming out. Okay, and the ones that they find in the national parks that turn up dead, they're leaning up against a tree with a bullet hole in their head, and they look around and see the gun smashed into 1,000,000 pieces. What person do you know can smash a gun into 1,000,000 pieces? I don't know what guns are made out of, but I'm pretty sure half of it, the 90% of it is metal. And you can't just break a gun into 1,000,000 pieces. A cell phone, maybe, but a gun, you can take it apart, because there are some guns where you can take the chamber off and do all kinds of stuff. You can strip it of the little chamber and the long part where the bullet comes out of, but the chamber. You can remove that from a gun. You can strip it and all that stuff. You can put it back together, because they have guns that you can put together. Okay, and I think they teach you that in the military, where you can strip it and then put it together within a matter of seconds. But still, when you find stuff like that, at a crime scene, trust me, it ain't got nothing to do with no human, because there's no way the body of a human would Nicki Rashawn's anniversary. Okay. Yeah, okay, so there's no way a person can do something like that, or a serial killer would actually do that. They would never just like remove clothing from a body, yet at the same time make sure the body's bone dry, where they dry the body off with towels, and put it, but yet still put it in a wet, muddy area where the socks are pristine, as well as the body. There's no ligature marks, there's no puncture wounds as far as bullet holes or knife, like knife stab wounds or whatever, strangulation marks around the neck. None of that. It's just a lifeless corpse, and without a cause of death on or in the body. There's no serial killer I know that can make that happen, let alone kill someone without leaving behind fingerprints. There's always evidence left behind, and that's why they have the FBI and forensics teams and law enforcement looking at this stuff. They are very good at it. And if they can't find it, that means something else is awry here. Something else is going on that we can't figure out. No human is able to do that. If humans leave behind evidence, that's part of that's in our nature to do that. That's just what we do. And it's like it's the natural order of things. We do these things to get caught in the end. We're never gonna. There are some people that got away with certain things, but they were eventually found years later. But if something has been happening for hundreds of years and no one has ever been found as far as the person that did it, there's got to be some otherworldly thing going on here. That's the only thing I can think of. And for a person to actually ignore that and say that I know my son was kidnapped or I know my daughter was abducted. Okay, yeah, obviously that's true, but by what? I'm not going to say who. I'm never going to say that because no human can do that. Just like Dior Kuntz, little Dior, the little boy walking along the river with his, or walking along a lake with his grandfather. He turns his head for a second. When he looks back, his grandson just vanished. Okay? What person do you know can do something like that within a matter of seconds without getting caught? Unless the flash is real and he came through, took the child and sped off somewhere, but you would still see footprints, right? You would see footprints, you would see bear prints, but you don't see none of that. None of that at all. Okay? So, for you to say that I know my son was abducted or kidnapped, by what? It wasn't by a bear, because at that time, bears were around, but there were no bears in that area. Okay? The wildlife conservation people said that. And he didn't drown because they would have found him in a river. They even damned it. Couldn't find him. Okay, so what else is there? This happened within a matter of seconds. Now they sitting there trying to blame the fact that the mother and the father, for something they didn't know. They weren't even there. They were like 50 yards away from where he was last seen, trying to find a little fishing spot. Okay, so when you eliminate the obvious, the only thing left is the mysterious, the unexplained. Okay? He walked into a portal. He didn't even know that he was walking into it because it was invisible to the naked eye. Okay? Or something on the other side of that portal opened it up. Had technology to open it up. They grabbed him, pulled him in, closed the portal. And that was it. Is he still alive? I don't know. Is he living his life as someone else's child on another earth, in another reality? On another planet? I don't know. I would hope and pray that he is alive. Okay? Now, let's just say 4 years down the road, they find his remains somewhere in an area where he never should have been in the first place. Furthermore, how did he get there within that short period of time? Okay? He disappeared at that moment. But yet 4 years later, you find him in an area hundreds of miles away from he was last seen, probably in a box canyon somewhere, or somewhere in the woods underneath some leaves. But still, how did he get there within that short period of time? Think you can figure that out? But if you come up with the most weirdest explanation and theory that you can think of, you already solved it. I guarantee it. You want to know why? Because there is nothing else left but weird theories that make no sense to other people, but to people like me and you. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here listening to me talking about this stuff. Because we know that something weird is going on. It could be aliens. It could be Bigfoot. It could be the Chupacabra. It could be Dogman. Because it has come up in one of his stories about a young girl named Katie Flynn, who was found by her father and a couple other hunters on the other side of a river, standing on top of a log. And then they saw the Dogman jump in the river and swim off and downstream. I'm just saying, there is something else going on here, people, and you gotta open up your eyes to it. Even if you don't want to, you have to at some point. You have to, because if we don't know anything about our own planet, then we're pretty much screwed. Okay, we have to know about everything. I'm talking about what's on the other side of these walls that are blocking us from this other world. What is on the other side of these portals that is blocking us from this other earth? Okay? I mean, there's always talk about parallel earths, but there's no proof of us of that. The only people that have the proof of this are the people that actually disappeared, like Stacy Ann Harris. She went through a period of that. She went through a lining of trees, that was perpendicular to the lake that she was trying to take a picture of. She walks through a line of trees and disappears. Yeah, it might have been some sort of like a doorway that opened up right within that line of trees. She walks right through it without even realizing it. And that was it. She couldn't come back, or she couldn't get back out of it. She got stuck. She living out her life somewhere else, probably as someone else's daughter. She was probably adopted. She was probably adopted, maybe. I don't know. But at her age, she was like, what, 14, 15 years old? So who would ever adopt her? I don't know at that age. But she had to live her life somewhere else. And I'm thinking that's what's happening to a lot of these people that vanish without a trace. They are forced to live their life somewhere else, on another world, on another earth somewhere, without a choice. They didn't have a choice to do it other than to do that, because they probably had to get a job, they had to go to school. They probably had to go to high school for that matter, but they didn't have nowhere to stay. Whoever found her probably, put up with a family who she had to be raised by, and then she had to go out there into that world and start her life all over again as a new person, on another planet, on another world, on another earth somewhere. That's my interpretation on that matter. Anybody that that disappears, they're walking just like this little boy. His last name is Mackenzie. This is in Australia. He was walking up the side of this waterfall, and it was almost like when they looked at his footprints, it was like he was being lifted up, and he just disappeared. Now I'm thinking he was either lifted up into a UFO, or he was walking into a portal that led to another dimension, or another parallel Earth. But his feet basically walked right into this pocket. That just like I was talking about something that David Paulides mentioned about a man who was walking in the forest, and he said he saw this wall of distorted energy, like just blocking a huge portion of the area right in front of him. He slows down to crawl. He walks up to this wall that made things look distorted in front of him, like the trees. And he took one step forward, and his foot disappeared into whatever this thing was. And he jerked his foot back and backed away slowly and ran away. So, and then there was another woman that talked about that same thing. She said like a vortex bubble. So I'm thinking there's some sort of vortex bubble that opens up on this planet that we can't always see. It's probably somehow blends in with the environment, or blends in with the atmosphere, or whatever. Or it just looks like nothing. It just looks like a regular everyday scenery. But you walk into this thing, it looks like, I won't even say it looks like a mirror or anything. It's just some sort of a bubble of energy, and you walk right into it. And there's another world on the other side of this bubble. It looks exactly like the one you just came from, but without people. I'm just saying. But it's anybody's guess as to what happens in that area. So, but yeah, my friends, that is my time on this video about those 2 or 3 people, rather. I got more theories coming. I do. And they just get stranger and stranger and stranger, because it's the only thing that can solve these cases. Weird theories that make no sense to other people who are skeptics. That's what I do. That's my job. That's why I'm here for you. If you got those kind of theories, you know what to do. Hit me up in the comment section below. Hit me up with an email. You know my email. It'll be in the description. Okay. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this little video that I created for you guys tonight. And I will surely have more coming in the coming days. So just stay tuned. Keep your eyes peeled to the screen. Keep your ears open to my notifications when you hear that little chime come through, because I will be posting it. So, like I said, I'm glad you guys enjoy my channel. I want to thank all my subscribers that hit me up with a thumbs up and a like to my channel. So if you got friends, like I always say, get them to subscribe to my channel if they like to hear about this kind of stuff, and I will definitely make sure you get the best of the weird shit that be going on out there in these forests and in these woods and all kinds of stuff. You know, so I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot. I mean, we're talking about stuff that goes all the way back to the 16th century. So, like I said, that's my time. I got to go. So I will be posting another video hopefully by tomorrow because I don't have to be to work until 6:30. So you know I got some good stuff for you. So just stay tuned and I will return. Alright? And you know how I end every one of my videos. Aloha, mahalo, and ahui ho. Peace out guys. Be safe, be blessed, and have a great night.